Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. This evening I'm going to be fitting the throttle cable. So I have taken out the pedal box and I'm just looking at how I can get a cable through to this pedal. So here, fortunately there's a bolt and I think I'm just going to sandwich the cable in there somehow. I'll loop it round to make sure obviously it doesn't come out. And then this end here, there's no actual hole here for any sort of adjustment. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to drill all the way through here, all the way through here. I'm going to open this side out as a clearance for this head, so this is going to sit within this section here. The reason for that is you might remember when I fitted this, the bulkhead is very close here, so I didn't want this sticking out and then having the cable come out from there and have to take a very sharp turn from that. So if I can recess this in here slightly, then it gives more space for the cable to run. So I'll quickly drill that, fit this bit, and I'll come back. And here we are. So you can see just in there, that is the route through for the cable. So the cable housing will come out of here. It's quite a sharp turn straight up the bulkhead, and then that feeds straight through here. So I've tested it with a cable through there, and that works quite nicely. One of the things that I needed to do was create a cable guide at the top here, which is what I've done there. Made a bracket here which is spaced quite nicely with a couple of big nuts. I wanted this gap here about 20mm, and I wanted this bracket to be square with this, one so it looks nice, and two because obviously this is also square. That's a bit of aluminium welding rod which holds that in position quite nicely. What I'm going to do is I'll quickly weld this in place, get it on the car and test the throttle cable, I suppose. So it's a few days later, and as you would normally expect with me, I have soldiered on and got this in. So that is how it's looking. So the throttle works, and I will demonstrate that now for you. Here we are in the car, throttle pedal. Press that, it's a good weight, feels nice and smooth. And if we peer over here, should be able to see. Okay, but there is a bit of an issue. So part of the problem is this pedal, you can hear that there, it's hitting the wheel arch there. Not too much of an issue, I can massage that back, but it is literally a millimetre from hitting the throttle stop. And part of the issue, if I use my calibrated broomstick here, so broomstick is in, that pedal is touching the bulkhead there, it's not going anywhere. And if we come around to here, you will see now it is minute, absolutely minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this wheel off and make it slightly smaller. So that should hopefully reduce the amount of cable that gets wrapped around it, and that means that the pedal for the same distance travelled will rotate this slightly more. Another small issue that I have is normally there is a little slot in this bracket, which would mean that I'd be able to take this off without having to thread it all the way through the car. What I'll do is I will just hook this out of this end, slacken it off, unthread that, and hopefully be able to get a grinder in there without having to take all the pedal assembly out, because that was a bit of a pain getting the right tension on it. So here we are, the cable pull from the throttle body is in the lathe, and that is as good as I can get it. If I quickly spin that up, it's not perfect, but it's in there, and obviously the tool is going to be very close to the chuck, so I've got to be careful about that. And obviously I've got to have a fair bit of tool out on this parting tool to get it in there without hitting on the jaws of the chuck. There we go. Hopefully that does the job. Okay, I have just chucked that back on straight off the lathe and put this back in. You can see I've also cut a little slit in there so I can take the cable out of there if I need to. And if theory is correct, then this should have some slack on it. There you go. Stick this broom back in. Oh, I think I could probably live with that. There is hardly anything in there. I think that'll do, to be honest. So that is now going through its full range of movement, and what I actually did then to get that last little bit is on the inside of the pedal there. You can just about see there's an adjustment screw, and that, although was at the minimum, stops this pedal from coming forwards any further. So what I've actually done is I've managed to make it shorter, which brings this forward a millimetre down at the bottom there, and that gave me just enough to adjust it and get the full pedal through. There's a throttle stop on the back here which I'm now using, so it's not stretching the cable and stuff like that. So that's now done. So there's loads of jobs to get on with. You can see the passenger side is completely full of parts now. I did pick up a new wheel because next part of the job is, if I climb in here, next part of the job is to, now that I've got the pedals in place, the seat is completely bolted down. All the time that this seat has been in the car, it's just been loosely in here. So now this is bolted in on the rails and in position. So part of the reason why I've got this one as opposed to the wheel that you saw before is, in comparison, you can see the dish on that, 3-inch dish. This one is 2-inch, so it's slightly shallower, and that fits better for me. The wheel was a little bit too close and I can't move this down. The reason why the wheel came forwards is because I've got a collapsible part on the column as an adapter to go from a coarse electric power steering column. So the adapter plate is a collapsible one which brings everything further forward, which is nice because I like the wheel kind of in my face, but that one was slightly too in your face. And also this one that I borrowed off Nick from Team Prawn Racing. This is the one that was in his car at the time when he crashed at the Nürburgring at 150 mile an hour, 140 if you're one of the people in the comments. And yeah, it's bent, so not ideal. It's not one that you would want to use. You probably can't really see that. There is a bit of a bend here and a bend here where Nick was holding on to that whilst he had the impact, so it's kind of bent, and it's not a genuine OMP, which is probably why it did bend. So this one is a nice genuine, what is it, I don't know what it is, it's an OMP, 350mm semi-dish, and it is beautiful, which is why I put it back in the plastic so it doesn't get ruined. Right then, now that the throttle cable's sorted and I've got a operational throttle, I'm going to get on with the rest of the controls. So the next thing on my list is to fit this into position. So I need to make a plate to cover up this hole that is in the transmission tunnel. So here, going to put a plate over there. I'm actually going to raise it slightly, and then this will sit on top like that. And then once that is in place, I can then make the shift linkage that goes to the gearbox. So here we are, this is what we've got. I've just cut this plate out to fit, and you can see that you've got this lip underneath which holds the plate up. Proud of these fixing points here. Obviously also squared off. So what I intend to do is, because I wanted the shifter to be slightly higher, not much, only 20 odd mil, 25 mil, I'm going to elevate this 20 odd mil, and then what I intend to do is around the outside of this have a down stand, so it's virtually sealed off. It won't have to be perfect by any means, but yeah, just so there's no gap and I won't get a load of air rushing in through the transmission tunnel. This is what I've got. A bit of round bar, aluminium, I don't know what that is, probably 20 mil I think. There or thereabouts. So I'm going to part this off on the lathe into 4 bits, so I'm going to center drill it as well before I part it off. And then I'm going to weld it to this plate, so I will do that quickly. Okay, so I'm going to be attaching the plate and these spacers that I've just made with riv nuts, and these holes are slightly smaller than they need to be. Essentially the M8 riv nuts I'm using requires a 11mm hole, and that is an 11mm drill bit. The issue is this obviously already wants to go in there like that, so when you try and drill it, instead of cutting a hole, it just feeds itself like this and pulls the drill bit and the drill towards the hole. And I was thinking I'll get the die grinder out and notch these out, make them round, and hopefully that would work. But I came up with a slightly more elegant and simple solution, and basically thread the riv nut on. Didn't really need a spacer. Place it over the hole. In. Easy as that. Right. I'll just get the riv nut tool and pull them tight. Okay, fast forward on a little bit. I've got the plate in, I've got the collars underneath here, and I've got the riv nuts in, so they're all tight, and that plate is now on there. I've not yet welded the collars to the plate, and I've put a small hole in the middle, so as small as I can get away with to fit the end of this in, because I'm not entirely sure whereabouts in this plate I want this. So I'll strop that in there. I've got the wheel in, so I know where that's going to be. And if I move myself back, that is, remove the handbrake, that is kind of where I want it to be actually, maybe slightly back, maybe there is more comfortable. That's not far off, but if that came back 25mm, I think that would be just about perfect. So I'll drill that hole properly, make that larger, and then a few more riv nuts in there to hold that down in place. And then last thing to do is add a 20mm skirt, which is going to be welded to the plate, which will make this stiffer still and tidy it up a little bit. So quite happy with how that is looking, so I'll fast forward on to the next stage. There we go, that's looking pretty good. The only thing that's really left to do is this collar, which comes round and kind of finishes it off quite nicely. Just got to weld this round here, all the way round, and that'll finish that off quite nicely. So I'll quickly get the TIG out, weld that up. There we go. That is tacked in place. The secret of TIG welding is ABC. Always be comfortable. What a crock of shit that was. I probably should have used a metal clamp here as well, because I started to melt the pads on there, but no, that's on there, that looks good. Just got to take that off, put it on the bench and fully weld it. Let's go. Well, there we go. I suppose I should be quite happy with that. It looks really good. The only issues is on this side is the side that I'll see, and I did dip here, and then I did dip there as well, and it was going so well. But other than that, it's pretty good. I'm not too sure if I'm going to powder coat this actually. I might just clean it up, maybe give it a little bit of a polish up, not too much, but just to make it look a little bit nicer, because that weld isn't too bad to look at, and it is my own, so why not show it off a little bit. But I'll quickly go bolt that on the car and see how that looks. So there we are. I think that looks pretty damn good. Might be a little bit biased, but yeah, I am really happy with that. I can feel already, sounds silly, but having that welded onto the side makes the whole thing a lot stiffer. I know I'll probably get a bit of abuse for using riv nuts, but I will be able to weld in some aluminium blocks and drill and tap them if I need to in future. But I think that's fairly solid as it is there, and feels perfect, and I'm really quite happy with that. The next thing is fit the handbrake and make the linkage for this. But yeah. So I think I'll end the video there. If you've enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you haven't already done so, could you please subscribe? It really helps the channel. And if you've got any questions, drop them down in the comments. I'll see you later.